Hey everyone, this is Andy Hall, and with me is Pat Green. You know, Pat, I've known you as Pat LaFord Green, but I'm going to go with your name that you have on your book. And the book's name is Portraits of Experience Coping Beauty. So I'm calling you Pat Green, as what's on your picture right there.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know Pat, because Pat's been on the show a couple of different times, I'm going to read from his about section from his book, just to catch everyone up to speed. Pat Green wears many hats at his core. He's a street photographer and activist. Pat is also a freelance photojournalist and columnist in good standing with the National Writers Union, the International Federation of Journalists, and the National Press Photographers Association. He is also an artist in the Chicago area, with works having appeared in several galleries and art shows in the Chicago area. Pat's artistic work is in private collections across the US, Canada, the UK, France, and Ireland. Pat's previous artistic affiliations have included the Lockport Artists Guild, Art Bar, and served as an ambassador to the International Raw Underground Artist Community. In 2015, Pat's first novel, Night Moves, an ex-preacher's journey to hell in a taxi, was released with critical and reader acclaim. When not doing that, Pat is hanging around with his adult child, reading a comic book, or watching film noir movies. Pat lives in a small condo near Chicago Loop with his Jack Russell, BJ. Wow. Pat Green, glad to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And with all of that stuff that I wrote that's impressive about myself, I can still barely afford a Happy Meal. So
that's good. Just want to say hello to Tobin Templeman in the chat. What's up, Tobin? Hope you're doing well today, sir.
Hey, Tobin.
So, you know, Pat, I mean, you've been on the show before. We've talked about your street photography, and I see you post your work on Facebook, and I'm a big fan of it, obviously.
Thank you.
And that's in black and white. And so when I looked at this book, it's like, oh, Pat's in color. And he doesn't suck in color.
It's actually harder to see in black and white. And that's what I do most, because you're looking for contrast, you're looking for highlights, you're looking for textures, because what you see is not what you get. What you're going to get when you develop the film, or you go into post and start converting it into monochrome. Working in color obviously is something that I've done since I was a teenager, and I was working for a local paper. And I also did it when I was in college. I was doing portraits for a local photographer during school shooting season. Mostly I worked at junior highs. And I also worked in the mall for glamour shots for a couple of years, and that was a lot of fun. And I love doing portrait photography. And that I have to explore in color, and I have to think differently when I'm shooting in color. And with this, I had to shoot and think completely differently because of what the purpose of this project has been.
So why did you choose color as against the black and white?
This was, well, first of all, the book itself is about the societal expectations that we put on people, and that pressure that we feel, especially when we have mental health disorders or we're not neurotypical. And when you live in that societal expectation, you feel pressured by it. So doing the portraits in color, I was going with what you expect whenever you see portraits, whenever you see headshots, whenever you see those photos on LinkedIn and your child's high school yearbook, it's in color. So that's why we did it in color, is I was trying to meet that expectation. And I also had to slow my roll with it, because normally when I do portrait photography, I do two things in my promise. Number one, we're going to have fun, and I'm going to encourage you the whole time, because it's uncomfortable for somebody to be in front of the camera. Even if they're a professional model, it's sometimes uncomfortable. So we're going to have fun, and I'm going to take a picture of you that has never been taken of you before, that you're going to love. Those are the two things that I deliver. In this case, I had to micromanage the shots to make them as standard and as basic as possible, but still follow good methods. And I wasn't encouraging the models. I was stressing them out because that first picture was about the societal expectation that we all have. Leave the room, let them calm down from those triggers that I was pressing, and have them come back in. And then I would come back into the studio after they've had a chance to change their outfit, use their coping skills, and do whatever it is that they do to come down, whether that's playing video games or painting or whatever. And you see a lot of that in the book. Some of the models actually brought their paints, they brought their video games and the controllers and the things that they needed to do to find their center again and relax. And that is the beauty of the coping skills, because now I'm no longer the photographer in control. I'm just an anthropologist. I'm studying them and trying to capture that moment when they are most authentic. And I'm not in control of the lighting. I'm not in control of the composition. I'm trying to be as invisible as possible to take that moment where they're at their most beautiful. And that's more important than the expectation. So, you know, the long answer is color is what people expect when they look at a portrait.
You talked about creating some kind of pressure on the models so that they would show their societal face, so that they show their public face. You want to talk about how you did that?
Yeah. Basically, what we did was the model and I would sit down. All of the models are either not neurotypical or they have some form of mental health disorder like I do. And we would sit down and talk about what their diagnosis is, talk about what kind of meds they're on, and talk about the things that trigger them, talk about the expectations that they feel that they have to fulfill at work or with family or you know, among their peers in clubs and organizations. And what I would do once I had that information, and I told them ahead of time that I was going to do this and that I wasn't going to do much encouragement in the first session, and that I was going to micromanage you. But we also created a safe word just in case it got to be too much. Just some things that, frankly, I've learned in the kink world. And that safe word is important. Never once did we have to break it out, but I only started focusing on the pictures that I was taking where the smile didn't quite touch the eyes, because I knew that I had created that level of stress.
Right. Yeah. And
that's what you get. You know, when I was doing school shots, picture day for some of these kids was traumatic. You know, this is back in my 20s when I was doing school photography. Some of these kids, they were coming from abused homes. They didn't want to dress up. This was not their thing. They don't like making eye contact. You know, we didn't really understand autism back then. So, you know, the person's weird. They just don't want to look at the camera. And you would have to force them into this thing. And I always knew when the smile didn't touch the eyes, and I hated that moment. But that's what we expect of people, is the perfect smile, the perfect posture, the perfect this, the perfect that. And that's not who we are. That's not who most of us are.
Right. So there was one set of pictures that you took about the societal self, about the outward self, and then it's from what you're saying, you took a break, went into the other room.
I would literally leave the studio, and I've got a studio in my condo. So I would leave the studio. They would change their outfit, and they would just start doing what one of their favorite coping skills, to just relax and find their center and be themselves. And I would take a couple of minutes and slowly walk back into the studio. And sometimes they'd be lying on a little bed that I have in there. And I would also, sometimes they'd just be sitting there playing video games, or one brought out all of her painting gear and she's literally working on a painting that she's been working on. Or they just want to have somebody with them. Like one model brought her daughter and another model brought her best friend that she's known since kindergarten, and they just sat there and talked on the floor. And so whatever it was that they needed to find that piece is what I walked into.
Now this is interesting. At least I find it interesting, since I thought of the question. If that was me, I might be like lighting up a spliff or having a rum and coke. Did you have any rules about what the person could do in terms of their soothing behavior, their coping mechanism?
No, because that is their narrative and that is their story. I was not going to restrict that. I already put restrictions on them. Yeah. And honestly, there are a couple people that I had in the project that do blaze up. That's part of their way of unwinding. And I would have been totally fine if they had grabbed their vape or if they had lit up a bowl and took a few puffs. I'd been fine with that.
Yeah. You had a couple there too that you took. And I have to tell you, the most, I think the most, at least what I felt, what I saw, was the a moment of truth and intimacy in that one picture. And I don't want to give away what the picture is in this book, but it spoke to me of there is this connection, and I think it speaks some kind of truth to their relationship, the two of them. And I thought it was both funny and chock full of insight, I think.
Well, without giving too much away, because of course I know the topic, but that was one of those things where she's just sitting there reading a book. He's playing a video game. Whenever he has a level up moment and he gets excited about it, she just kind of
yeah, dude,
gives him the acknowledgement and goes back to her book. He's back in the game.
It did speak to me. It's like, yeah, I know that moment. I've seen that moment. I've been in that moment before.
And when you look at, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you look at the first picture of them, the couple shot, it's what you see in every engagement announcement and right. Couple photo. And it was very uncomfortable getting them into that position. And it's uncomfortable with every couple that you get in that position. But that right there, that was real.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I could definitely feel the tension in that first shot, like you were saying, the couple shot, the wedding shot, or the engagement shot, or whatever. And it's like, yeah. I felt the tension there, while the other shot, and well done on that too. Well done on that.
Thank you.
You captured a moment there of genuineness. Yeah, it was powerful stuff. So for people who just, and I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat too, because Tobin popped in earlier, and I want to say hello to Douglas. Hello, Douglas. Glad that you're here. And Ox. Glad to see you here, Ox. And D. Glad to see that you're here, D. Hey, how you doing, Natosha Leah? Lee, if I'm butchering anyone's name, I am so sorry with my Boston accent. And I don't know if Blazing is around. I know Blazing's over in Denmark. I don't even know what time it is over there right now. But if you're around, Blaze, good to see you. And Tesla Ranger. So Pat, for people that are just tuning in, if you're going to give an elevator pitch for the book, what would it be?
Book is called Portraits of Expectations, Coping Beauty. And basically what the book project is it's challenging the societal norms and the stigmas that we put on people that suffer from mental health with who they are after they have had a chance to use their coping skills and find their true and authentic self. Because we're not this person that's on command all the time. We're not this perfect person with the posture and the demeanor, but we're just ourselves. And that is beautiful. And that beauty gets crushed by the weight of expectations of homogeneity. And that's what we challenge. That's what we address, both visually and since I can't speak for the models, I go very deep and vulnerable into my own experiences with PTSD, depression, suicide, and why we all need our coping skills.
Right. You know, one of the things that I liked about your book, and this is going to sound weird, is that you did have content warnings about, you know, there's going to be discussions. You're going to have feels when you're experiencing this book. We're going to be talking about difficult topics, and you should be aware of that when you start reading.
I borrowed that from young adult novels. When you look at the beginning of YA novels have those. And I think that they're amazing. You should have that content warning in there. And they don't say it. And what they do is they do the words content warning, not trigger warnings, because trigger puts the onus on you. Whereas the content, this is a warning about the content. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
This is just a content warning.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I know we talked a bit beforehand about you reading a section. Well, you know, because you're not the first author we've had come through. And I always like to ask the authors, hey, do you want to give listeners, the viewers, a little taste of the book? So you had a section that you wanted to read from.
Yeah, it's actually a very short section. It's the introduction, actually. And it sort of sets the tone as to what the book is about without getting too dark or revealing too much. So bear with me one moment. This is awkward. I'm having anxiety right now. I'm not kidding. Too many people find reasons to stigmatize those who suffer with mental health issues, treating them in ways they would never treat someone with MS or diabetes. Stigma and coping skills are important. I do not come armed with the usual facts and figures. The models and I stand before you to say we are not alone and we are not less. If you have to hide who you are to meet societal expectations and avoid stigma, you are not alone and you are not less. We are beautiful. Some Christians will claim your mental health issues are demon possessions curable by prayer. Some yoga pant culture Eastern mystics will say that detox and essential oils are all you need while calling medication junk and therapy a lie. Sadly, some atheists will just say you're weak. They are all wrong. We live in a black and white world of healthy and not healthy, sick and cured. I believed in that myth as well. A diabetic has to check their blood sugar, watch their diet, and take their insulin throughout their life. That is all right. For mental health concerns, it's the exact same thing. Like a person with diabetes, they live a full life and are completely capable every day. However, those with mental health concerns often suffer in silence because of irrational and incorrect stigmas. Most people feel the weight of expectations on them. The perfect smile, weight, fitness, posture, job, family, and so much else. We fall in line and join the homogeneity. Deep inside so many of us is this other person who is healthy and beautiful. It's who we are when we're in a safe space, able to use coping skills to wash away the expectations, ignore the stigmas, and just be. May you find the beauty in the authenticity of the model, Sam's posture, perfect eye contact, and directed poses.
Powerful stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say? And if anyone has questions for Pat in the chat, feel free to ask, because this is a interactive experience here. So if you feel, and I should also mention that you get in the description, you'll see a link to how to buy Pat's book with a special code. If you use the special code, you get 40% off. Am I not incorrect? Am I right about this?
That is correct. It's a 40% off coupon for the listeners of the show, and we're going to leave that coupon active until the 21st.
Right. So once again, there is a link to the book in the description. Use the code that's down there and you get 40% off, which is, I think, a pretty fantastic deal.
Well, we released the book in two different formats. There's the book, and then I also did a magazine. And the magazine you can find on the same website as well. The magazine edition is only $14.99. And cool. I wanted to make that so it would be budget friendly for everybody, but we used a deluxe magazine format, so that way we had higher quality paper and the pictures were brilliant, and they turned out so well that a back burner project of mine has come to the forefront, And, this is a conversation for another day. But because of how the Deluxe magazine turned out, we're going to starting in July, every other month, there's going to be a photo documentary. And I plan on having a rhythm. One's going to be like my street photography. Let's talk about Chinatown and the beauty of the people there, and slide in something about, ending the violence against Asian people. But then we're going to do another one. The next one will be heavier and darker like this one. And the first one that we're going to do that's darker is going to be sort of a To Catch a Predator style setup.
Is this about Matt Gaetz?
No, I wish it was. But basically the idea is we're going to take some pretty models, put them in public places, and just wait for assholery to happen.
Yes, that.
Because as a street photographer, this is my jam. And I'll come out of the bushes and just keep shooting at them and just watch their reactions. And when I've been talking to the models, they're going to work on that project. One of them said something profound. I'm like, are you sure you're in? Because there are some safety concerns. Yeah. And she said, you know what? This is my life every day. If one day I can have somebody be afraid of me, that'd be fine.
Wow. Well, that sounds freaking intriguing, Pat. And that does. Hey, I just want to say hello to B. B's a regular. I'm on B's stream every once in a while. Hope you're doing well. Doing well tonight, B. So I have to ask you. There's so many projects that can be done, right? I'm sure you have I have a laundry list of stuff that I could do, that I should be doing. And why this project now?
This project now, because 2020, November 2019, and I write about it in the book. November 2019, I attempted suicide and I almost pulled it off. I was in ICU for a little while before they could put me into the mental ward and we could start cleaning up the act. I've always struggled with mental health, PTSD, anxiety, recurrent depression. And 2020 was horrifying with shelter in place because I was in isolation. It's me and the Jack Russell trying to survive. And that made the work harder. But if it wasn't for my other friends who struggle with mental health, I don't know how well I would have come through 2020. And so why now is because so many of us have been through hell. And as we come out of this new maskless culture that we're going to enter into, we're going to have to put on that face again. And I want to have a conversation about that because the societal expectations on people that struggle with mental health or are neurodivergent, you're crushing beauty. You're crushing beauty because the beauty is who we are, not this perfect person that you want, this perfect employee that you want, this perfect congregation man, whatever the fuck you want out of people. You're crushing beauty when you stigmatize their mental health, because what's actually going on when I use my coping skills, I'm finding my peace, I'm finding my center, I'm finding beauty, and I'm loving myself. It's self-soothing. And that's what everybody out there is trying to do. That shouldn't be judged, that should be celebrated. So that's why now.
Cool.
And
tell me go ahead.
I was just going to say that's why I incorporate Dolores O'Riordan. This project, after Dolores died, I was afraid that my hero, lead singer of the Cranberries, had killed herself. And it turned out that it was a horrible accident. She had too much to drink and drowned in the hot tub because she fell asleep while drinking.
Yes.
But there was a model that I was very close to. We were actually in a relationship at the time. And she felt the same way I did about Dolores, because Dolores was always open and honest about her bipolar disorder and her addictions. And so I wanted to honor that by having the model dress up in that iconic look from Zombie and create a series of photos. And every chapter in the book kicks off with another series from that photo set, along with a quote from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, those are great. Those
well, thank you.
Jack Materko joins us. Jack Materko.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Jack.
Hey, sorry I'm a little late. I had other things going on.
Well, I always assume that you are, working in the satanic industrial complex out there, and you got stuff going on.
I just have a lot of things going on, a lot of pies,
A lot of fingers and pies. That's
yeah, it's the way it is.
Yeah,
I wanted to touch on Tobin's question real quick.
Yeah. Let's touch on Tobin. I'll just read the question for everyone. Did Pat get to play with photography when the chemical process was still used? And if so, is that something that you missed with playing with medium?
Tobin, the Reader's Digest condensed version is this. My father was a professional photographer for a lot of different publications when I was growing up. When I was 13, he bought me a Pentax K1000. I learned to develop film. By the time I was 16, I was working semi-professionally for a local paper and also for the school paper. And to this day, I still develop film. I still shoot film. And I love the chemicals, and I scan them. I've got a flatbed scanner over here that I scan the negatives and display them. That one is more personal than it is professional, though. But yeah, there's nothing I miss about the medium because I never stopped.
Nice. Jack, you have fans, Jack. You have people like, hey, Jack's here.
Jack is here. I was asking Andy earlier.
Okay.
Where's Jack?
Yeah, no, I got caught up, and I was backstage, and now things went on a little longer than my attention span could really handle, and I forget what I thought I wanted to talk about. But
okay, man, that's okay. We still got a lot of show ahead of us, and if that thought comes back around, then that's fantastic.
It will. It's the way it always works, right?
Right. Douglas from the chat says, Zombie is one of my favorite songs of all time. Looking forward to having this work on my wall. Cool.
Yeah, Douglas actually went to my website. He's one of the people. If you go to my website, patgreenphoto.com, you can buy the book and art bundles. I sell prints of the cover in either 8x10 or 4x6 matted to 14, anyway. I don't remember the dimensions, but I sell it as an art bundle if people really want to have that piece. It's limited edition.
Oh, so. What's the name of your site again, Pat? Just for everyone else.
PatGreenPhoto.com. Not Pat Green Photography. There's some guy in California that does that shit. I'm PatGreenPhoto.com.
I'm gonna pick a hard up. So what do you think about NFTs?
What do I think about I want to know
what Pat thinks about NFTs. I don't care what.
Wait, what's an NFT?
These non-fungible tokens in the crypto space where people are making digital art and selling it for millions of dollars.
Oh my God! Okay,
JPEG that's attached to a blockchain and yada yada yada.
There's a Canadian YouTuber whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he did a great half-hour expose on that. And it does not benefit the artist at the end of the day.
Really?
As compared to what?
You know what?
I mean this in all seriousness. I mean, it's one of the things that I found out very early on when I was looking at the art markets and how they work and stuff is that I find it really, really offensive that the way the tax code is set up, if you're an artist and you make a piece of art and you donate it to a charitable organization, you can only deduct what your cost of materials was. But if whoever you sold it to sells it or donates it, they can deduct what it would sell for at auction, which is a bit fucked.
I don't know enough about digital currency to give an educated answer on that. All I can tell you is, having been in the industry since 86, 89, the art industry, whether it's physical art, photography, sculpture, music, it's all gone to hell. And the last person that benefits is the artist. And I don't think we're going to find one weird trick that's going to bring that back. It's going to be a long process.
But isn't there something to be said then for something like NFTs where like if the NFT transfers ownership, the original artist still gets a percentage of that transfer of ownership.
So that's more
which
of a
is something that they don't get now.
So you're saying, Jack, and let me just understand this. When you have NFT, and if you transfer that to another person, the artist gets a piece of the action.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And there's a certification process, and there's a lot of layers to it. I don't understand it, so I can't give you an educated answer. Based on the 30-minute video that I saw, I'm cynical of it for now, but if it turns out to be a good thing, I'll join up. But I mean, one of the things you learn most about being an artist, the most easy way to make money as an artist is to sell a program that tells artists how to make money as being an artist.
Oh my God, oh my God, you are that is so on the money. If I can get a penny for every single failed comedian out there selling a course on how to be a comedian, I would be rich.
At the Comedy Store at like 2:00 on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Exactly. Grant from the chat is saying something that actually resonates with me. Grant, I'm diagnosed with ASD and bipolar. I've been kind of fond of not needing to interact directly with so many random people over the past year.
My comment was. The thing about you.
I will say this.
Pat was talking. This is the thing about it coming back around. Pat was talking about it going back into a maskless society, and I'm just like, well, look. You can't tell me not to wear a mask. I kind of like wearing the mask. Mm-hmm. I think I want to wear a mask all the time because I rather enjoy that people have to listen to me more than just kind of go through the motions. And I appreciate that.
In terms of coping skills, I went to a baseball game over at Fenway. I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for a while. And Fenway Park only has 25% seating right now. But I got to tell you all, it was an anxiety-provoking experience, and I didn't realize it until I started noticing me acting in ways that I typically act when I'm anxious, which is cracking jokes, inappropriate jokes, funny jokes. But it is definitely a coping mechanism, and maybe there was some alcohol too involved, maybe just a little bit. Just like a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, Andy locked up on us.
Yeah. I thought it was a stunt, but okay, there he is. No, he's there.
There we go.
Moving again.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, you froze up on us for a second.
I froze up for a minute. Oh no.
Yeah, it was probably your best joke too.
Oh, it probably was. But I was saying I was out in public, and I hadn't been out in public for so long, and I felt anxious. That's what I felt. And yeah.
But you felt anxious in public before the pandemic. I mean, if we're being
but I'm out of practice. My coping skills are out of practice. That's the thing.
Do you find it better? Like, are the people who are generally not as anxious as you in public are giving you more social space just because they're kind of acclimated to it?
Yeah, maybe.
Does that make it a little more soothing?
I don't know.
Get around outside.
Like I said, like I said, being at Fenway Park, it was the first time of being in real society again, and my coping skills were out of practice. That's why I could confidently say that.
Did you get a hot dog?
No, dude, I'm a vegetarian. I can't have a hot dog.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you went vegetarian.
Yeah. So I want to get back. I want to get back.
Anything at concession? Like of
course, I had some food. I had some crappy.
Well, okay. So if you had Fenway Park food, like, what are you worried about as like a germaphobe? You've already gotten everything you're going to get.
Oh, it wasn't the germ. The germs don't give me a problem because I have full faith, secular faith, of course, in the vaccine. Though I did have seasonal allergies today, and I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if this was a breakthrough. One chance at a million. but my brain was able to override my amygdala, right, Pat? Because you talk about you talk that you don't. You mentioned that you don't bring a lot of stats and figures and numbers, but you do talk a little bit about the hippocampus and about the amygdala.
I wanted people to understand what is going on in the brain of somebody, because what I was trying to do with the photographs, I can take a picture and tell a story, but that story has limits. And sometimes the music needs lyrics.
Yeah.
So with the lyrics, I wanted people to understand first through my own suicidal experience, and also describing very graphically what it's like when I'm having a flashback from a trauma trigger.
Yeah.
And I was as graphic as I could. That was hard to write. But I also wanted to talk about not only what it felt like and have you feel that, but I also wanted you to understand what was going on with the brain. I mean, here you got the hippocampus, and here you got the amygdala, and the amygdala is always, oh my God, everything's on fire. And it needs to tell the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is, hold on, let me check this out. It's like, nope, nothing's on fire, and that's not a saber-toothed tiger. It's just wind in the bush. You're fine. And then the amygdala is like, oh, okay, chill. I can calm down. I'm going to go to sleep now. You guys carry on doing brain shit. And since my trauma happened at a young age, yes, it is Natasha. Natasha asked if the whiskey is gone, Patty. But at a very young age, my hippocampus's growth is probably stunted. And those connections and that communication with the brain were severed. And through talk therapy and through medication, I am slowly rebuilding and creating those connections.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing telling the amygdala, dude, chill, except for me trying to do an override on a broken system. So my amygdala is always on. I'm always in fight, flight, freeze, or fuck mode. And that's a hard place to be. That's anxiety disorder.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that was very powerful. That was a powerful part of the book. Once again, there's honesty not only in the pictures that you took, but of course there's honesty in what you write about your own personal experience and your own truth there. Powerful stuff.
The only way that we're going to have a discussion is if somebody goes first. And I have found that when I am vulnerable and I am open, other people in the room will go, oh shit, yeah, me too.
Well, I think that's a good point, is that we hide from our vulnerabilities, right? And for a lot of times, good reason. But it is oftentimes one of our most powerful assets too, is being able to be honest and to be truthful, so that other people, so that the message can resonate with other people.
Yeah, and I've hit the point where I'm all out of fucks to give. I mean, at the end of the day, after it was 2014 that my child came out trans. Yeah. And we have faced every arrow, every bullet, and every backstab that you can imagine over the years of living that life. And so it's just like, you know what? I've literally lost jobs because I write openly about my kid, in the hopes that other people will accept their children, and the hopes that teenagers who don't have accepting parents will look at me and say, oh yeah, well, maybe I can talk to you. And so, I mean, if I'm already under vocational threat and I lose out on opportunities over that, you know what? I'm going to talk about my mental health, because I almost died in November of 2019. And it happened because I wasn't talking about it. I never talked about my molestation as a child. I never talked about the fact that my mom's my mom's husband, when I was 9, when she married him, was a fucking pedophile.
Yeah.
And that screwed me up. And the concentric levels of pain went on my entire life, and it almost destroyed me. Talking about it has revived me.
Yeah.
I don't live in that space all the time anymore. That's not my defining characteristic. And I no longer feel like I deserve something. I still have low self-esteem, but I do self-soothing with my coping skills and tell myself that I deserve better than what I'm getting out of this life.
Right.
And that I'm okay. And that happens. I want us all to have that conversation, because I need the people that are pretending to be Brad and Janet in their false paradigm of perfection to understand
what that is.
To understand that there's more of us than there are of you. And
Sure.
how dare you judge me? And how dare you crush beauty? You don't have that permission anymore.
You know, Pat, for a second, because I think you're ideal to talk about this, about comparing art with talk therapy, because there are parallels there. You want to just discuss that a bit?
Art with talk therapy?
Well, as in, like, how is art therapeutic, right? Because from what I have experienced while being on the couch, symbolically on the couch, is that if therapy is feeling things that you wouldn't normally feel and saying things you wouldn't normally say, feeling the unfeelable stuff and saying the unspeakable stuff, I think art has a similar.
There's. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I would say that then art in that scenario is, okay, you've allowed yourself to feel these things that you don't normally allow yourself to feel and whatever, but art gives you a mechanism to express it in a way that you're not normally allowed to express things.
But there's also a dialogue going on with other people whenever your art is out there. Whenever you're doing it, it should just be for you. But there was this time I was doing an art show in the Chicago area called Rhythm and Hues, and you had to base your piece on a song. So I did Bon Jovi's "Want to Make a Memory," which is about this couple. They're not a couple, but they're two people that have known each other since high school. There's like a 20-year reunion or something like that, and they have a one-nighter together. And they're talking about those old times. And I had just finished the end of a painful relationship with somebody that I went to high school with. And it was good when it was good, but it was bad when it ended. And so I put together this piece cathartically. And I included a lot of elements contained within the song, and also yearbook and clothes strewn about a bedroom, where you can imagine that the couple is just out of sight from the composition, making love. This was my catharsis. At the art show, there's this stocky Hispanic gentleman who's like wearing this Carhartt shirt. He's like, or Carhartt jacket, and he's this wide, and he's built like a brick outhouse, as they like to say. And he's been watching the piece for a while. And I walk up to him like, "Do you have any questions?" And he turns and looks at me, and he's got tears streaming down his face. And he goes, "Did you make this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "It reminds me of my first night with my wife." And he's opened up his wallet and handed me money. And within like half an hour, he's got his wife at the art gallery with his kids, and we're all taking selfies together, and he bought the piece. There's a dialogue. My pain was his beauty, and we're connected forever with that. And as far as art therapy, this is their point where you get to create and you get to show the world how you see the world. Even if you don't show it to anyone else, you get that. That's your present to yourself.
D Parks from the chat says, "I'm feeling mad respect for Pat. How about you all?" And some of you may not even know that Pat was a minister at one time.
I used to be a minister. I was a minister for 16 years. The fun part was I was using photography to earn my way through Bible college, and I loved it. but I couldn't embrace it because since I loved it, it was idolatry and I had to serve God. So I had to put this away. My passion, my love, my connection with my Father, I put it away to serve God. Now I'm an atheist with a degree in a God that I don't believe in. And I'm doing photography again. So life has sort of come full fucked up circle, but I'm happy.
Right. Yeah. Well, that you're happy, I think that's and honest, right? There's some I imagine, and I don't want to speak for you, that there must be some kind of feeling that you're living a legitimate life, that you're leading an honest life. Now,
this is my life. It's messy. It's sometimes gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm dancing in my living room like Tom Cruise in Risky Business. And other times I'm huddled in the fetal position just wanting everything to stop. But it's my life. And I'm not looking to something else. And I never gave myself credit. I never gave myself respect. And now I love me. And the things that I love are the things that I love. And nothing gets in the way of that love.
Right. Just want to mention again that the link to Pat's book, what's the name of the book again? It's Portraits of Experience, Coping Beauty.
Portraits of Expectations, Coping Beauty.
The link to, you can buy his book is in the description. Use the code and you get 40% off. So,
40% off.
Yeah.
40% off.
Between now and
very generous to our audience, Pat.
Between now and the 21st. There is one thing. Whenever I was bringing out this camera is actually a piece of crap. It's a toy camera called Hogas. Hogas and Dianas were popular between the 60s and the 80s. And this is the thing that you would win at a arcade, or you go to the state fair. 50 cents a pop bulk, the Dianas and the.
But isn't there some sort of like there has to be something artistically somewhere that like appreciates being able to take like whatever you think the ideal picture for a camera like that is.
Exactly, and here's where I'm going with it. Professional photographers that are old school love Holgas and Dianas because of their imperfections. This lens, no quality control. Hong Kong, this was not a camera manufacturer. They just slapped some concave plastic in there and said, have a nice day. This back is cheap-ass plastic with light leaks everywhere that's going to do strange effects on the negative. And it's hard to see here, but the focus ring doesn't show you distance. You got a picture of one person, two people, a bunch of people, mountains. And so you have no idea if what you're taking is in focus. So when you're doing this, like life, you're creating beauty from limitations.
Yeah. Oh,
and I have no control over all of the normal things that I have with my, 26 megapixel Pentax studio camera, or 24 megapixel. I don't have that level of control, but those limitations force you to be creative, and it's the same thing.
But then the other side of that's still a film camera, though, right? So like it's not like okay, I gotta this picture with my digital camera, I can bring it into Photoshop or whatever. It's you're taking the film that's been exposed the way it's exposed, and then part of the developing technique is part of the process.
Well, you develop the film, and nowadays, those of us who are shooting film, we use flatbed scanners and we scan our negatives. Now, if you scan them as a TIFF file, you can actually play with them in Photoshop at the same level you can anything you shoot from RAW in a camera. So I still have those things, but when I do street photography and when I shoot film, I do very minimal post. I crop and I might adjust the contrast and the composition a little bit, and then I'm done. Each picture that I do in street is less than 30 seconds in post edit because I want it to be what I shot. Because I came from film, I feel the same way about Photoshop that a lot of hardcore musicians feel about computer technology. It's a wonderful tool, but there's this new habit of laziness where people say, fuck it, we'll fix it in post. No, sing the song, play the guitar, shoot your camera.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. That is a curse. Pat, I want to ask you, if we had your models here, how would they respond? How would they talk about their experience shooting with you, being involved in the project?
I can't speak for them. I will say this. One of my models is actually a very popular professional model in the Chicagoland area. She does a lot of professional boudoir photography. And I've seen her work, and it's amazing. And having her on the project was just out of this world stellar. But she's told me, oh my God, I loved working with you. And her and I are going to work together again in other projects that are less serious. And everybody else seemed to have positive things, and we're still in contact because, in the profit sharing, since I don't have money to pay models, basically 14% of the proceeds are going to the models, split up. The math is like every purchase of every book, the model gets 1.7% or something to that effect. But I want them to have something, and then another 14% is going to a charity that fights stigma. And the reason why I'm being coy about that one is originally I had a charity in mind, but I found out that their director was dirty. And so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, once I start getting more book sales in, who do I give this money reserved to? I'm going to need to find that.
Right.
But
go ahead.
The models are in, and I am beholden to every one of them because they were open about what they went through, and they were willing to share a piece of themselves and go through the uncomfort of the standard portrait to get to the place where we can showcase their real beauty.
What did you learn from doing this book?
I learned that this is probably the one and only time I can do this project, because as somebody who's a victim of abuse, and I was also a child model from the age of 3 to the age of 19, predominantly for Carson Perry Scott, but also for Vidal Sassoon, and a one-off commercial for Brown's Chicken. But I know what it's like to be uncomfortable in a shoot, and it was so hard to be the guy making them uncomfortable. The one thing that I noticed, where I'm going with this, is the thing that I learned is I learned what it feels like to hurt another person, knowing that you're hurting them. Now, we went into this eyes wide open, but every once in a while there'd be a look where it'd be like, God, this is the moment that I shoot. This is the exciting moment that I shoot, but fuck.
Yeah.
And I know what it is to hurt, and I bring that up, but I also have to acknowledge in this life that I've hurt people, and this has taught me profoundly what it's like when you lash out and hurt someone, even when you don't intend to. You still do, and we have to be kind to one another.
Yeah.
Unless you're an anti-mask, anti-vaxxer Trumpian. But anyway, I digress.
Well said, Pat.
My hypocrisy knows no bounds. Fuck.
So, Pat, we're getting down to the end of the hour, and the question we like to finish off the show with. Is there something you wanted us to ask you that we didn't get to? Was there a topic, and not where people can find you online, but was there a topic, something that you wanted to wax philosophic about, perhaps, but we just didn't get around to?
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I honestly believe that there's two types of people in this world. There's those of us that have a diagnosis, and there's everybody else that should be in therapy. This month, what I really want people to do what I would really like to have a discussion about is, if you suffer from mental health or you're neurodivergent, you're not less. You're fucking beautiful exactly as you are. And I'm with you. And I don't have any solutions or magic bullets to make this get better. And that's not even what the goal is. The goal is to just make it through the day. But for those of you who don't have a diagnosis and you're judging your autistic friend because they can't make eye contact, or you're judging somebody who's stimming, or you just look down on people that have mental health issues. And I know what that's like, because I have people contact me because I have not behaved according to their expectations. They're like, are you taking your meds? Are you doing this? Are you seeing your therapist? It's like, fuck you. This is not about any of that. You just don't like the way I'm living my life right now. This has nothing to do with my mental health. This has everything to do with your expectations. What I want people to understand is, stop it. Educate yourself before you do any more harm to these beautiful souls. And I don't even believe in souls.
Well, but what you're talking about there is like, okay, so you have people who are trying to engage with people with a spectrum disorder of some kind or another. And whenever that person does something that they don't like, they just attribute it to the spectrum condition instead of.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
It's just, that must be because you're Aspie or whatever, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, no, that has nothing to do with it. You and I are just disagreeing about whether or not it's okay to be a racist.
It's not that part at all. We actually have a disagreement. It's got nothing to do with,
and it has nothing to do with somebody's neurodivergence or somebody's being bipolar. It has nothing to do with it. Yet that's a standard we're held to. Nobody looks at somebody in the middle of a political argument and says, "You've been checking up your on your MS. You and your neurologist been checking up on that. How's your blood pressure? Your blood pressure okay?" No, but in the middle of an argument, they'll look at me and say, "Dude, have you been seeing your therapist? Everything okay? You don't seem to be acting in a manner that's according to what I expect of you."
I'd be like, "You don't know my baseline behavior, sir."
Right, exactly.
Step back.
Mm-hmm. And we define people by their diagnoses.
Yeah.
Just like people have defined my kid because they're transgender. And that's not my kid's defining characteristic. It's their wacky sense of humor. It's their sense of justice. It's their compassion. It's how kind they are. And it's how driven they are in their grades and to succeed and to be a leader and to make a difference and to protest and to embrace intersection in causes. And there's so much more to my child than their gender. There's so much more to me than my diagnosis.
But also defining people by their diagnosis like that.
Nope, Jack froze it.
No, I didn't.
No, he's working through it. I can see the wheels.
That defining people by their diagnosis thing also, that's putting expectations on people in how they're going to act based on the diagnosis. And then from there's this weird kind of, okay, there's a reticence to get diagnosed because people don't want to be labeled.
Oh yeah, and there's a reticence to admit to your diagnoses, because at the point that you tell an employer, "Hey, I have general anxiety disorder, I have PTSD, I have bipolar," they're going to sit there and say, "Oh, what do we do about the 90%?"
Oh, well, okay, we know what our sick day policy is like, and there's no way you're going to fill that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true enough. Wow. This has been a great conversation, I have to tell you. It's always great to have you on, Pat.
It's fun to be here, even with the anxiety.
It's okay. You can't see the audience. It's way easier this way.
You know what it is? It's because it's live. A lot of the podcasts that I do, they're pre-recorded. So, there was one time, and I'll close with this real quick, live radio. I'm doing a pitch for my book that I wrote in 2015, Religion for Life. I say the word blowjob, and I'm the first person ever to get beeped on live radio on Religion for Life's radio show in Portland, Oregon. And so when you put me live, it's just like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm gonna say something, and I enjoy those moments, but I also don't.
Yeah. Well, I have gotten to really enjoy the live format, to tell you the truth. That's just me. I mean, I do it every day practically. So constant practice, and the people who typically show up here in the chat are pretty cool, and I am not afraid to throw the ban hammer down. So this channel gets a very few trolls, and whenever there is a troll, we get rid of them pretty fast, to tell you the truth. So yeah,
I am so used when you write a column in Pathos about being a parent of a transgender child, I am used to the worst of the comments.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a jerk, as many of you know. I don't read
Yes.
comments. I don't read my comments because a lot of my my posts are F you, and not F you to everybody, but to a very specific crowd. And if so, yeah, I read some of the comments. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of them I'm just like, yeah. But yeah, dude, you're right. You're writing about something. We are writing about two very different topics, very intimate with you. And what's the name of your blog on Pathos? Just for, I mean, I know it, but you should tell everybody on
Transparent Expedition. And I haven't written there very much because I've been kind of working on this other thing here that we talked about the last hour.
Right. But you have backlog of posts on Transparent
Going
Expedition.
back about 5 years now. Yeah. And we talk about a lot of the journeys of just what it's like for a teenager and a dad to go through this as child and father, and our misadventures and the shit that they deal with because of people. I mean, you know, we've got the evangelical Christians, and then you've got the progressives that are often shitty allies. And then you have this new split that's happening in the atheist community since Dawkins became the Pat Robertson of the atheist world.
Wow! Wow! What a way to close the show! What a way to close the show! Oh! Oh! Well, that was pretty good, Pat. I like that.
Well, thank you.
No punches pulled here on the Laughing in Disbelief YouTube channel. So if you're just tuning in, everyone, we've talked about so many things. We've talked about Pat's book. Pat, you want to show people the book again? I know you have it right there.
Portraits of Expectations, Coping Beauty by Pat Green.
So we talked about the book for the last hour. Once again, in the description, there is a link to buy the book. You use the code in the description, you get 40% off the book. Yes, I said that. 40% you get off. So you get off. Yeah, that was poor word choice. I just want to say that. We talked about Pat being a photographer, about once being a minister. We talked about general mental health issues. We covered like so many things. And so, like I said, if you're just tuning in, definitely, well, one, buy the book, and two, listen to the rest of this episode, because it's well, mostly it's Pat talking, to tell you the truth, and so that's what makes it fantastic.
Sorry.
No,
that's always been our ideal for years now. We try and get the guests to talk as much as they can, so we don't have to do as much work. That's always been our plan.
People don't come here, you know, viewers don't come here to listen to Jack and me. It's to see who the fantastic guest is, to tell you the truth.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, Pat, where can people find you online?
They can find me online at patgreenphoto.com. That is one space. And then obviously in my name, I've got my Insta there where you can see my street photography. I'm not doing that for commercial. I just put a picture a day just to have fun. I don't give a shit about the likes. then on Pathos, you can find me on Transparent Expedition. But PatGreenPhoto.com is where you'll learn most about what it is that I do and why I do it.
Fantastic. Jack Maturka, what's going up with Big Satan, the industrial satanic complex?
Just the Satanic Planet release party at the Satanic Estate on the 28th. So the Satanic.estate, go get tickets to that.
Nice.
They're pay as you go, pay what you want tickets for this one. We're trying that out. We're gonna see how that's gonna work. Hope that goes well, which is even,
and what's the event all about?
Better, huh?
What's the event all about?
It's the Lucian Greaves and his music buddies put out an album, so we're doing a release party since we.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, they're doing a party, and it's at the Satanic Estate. So
nice,
right?
Lucian's fun on all interviews.
We whenever he pops in, always funny, always a great communicator. And of course, we always have fun when he pops in.
Yeah, I saw the last one. It was great.
Yeah. Thanks. Everyone in the chat who's viewing, who's lurking, who's observing, thank you for showing up. I am going to be doing my normal show.
Tons of mice. It's the headset, right, for the Metropolis look.
Jack has the Metropolis.
I pick up what you're putting down there.
Yeah. 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm doing the Disappointed Cat morning show. Do I have cat news? I have cat news, but I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Talk to you later, everyone. Be strong.
Bye-bye.
You're beautiful.